take a deep breath today? In our crazy lives of home and work, business ownership, side hustle, working for someone else, running our households, chasing our dreams, getting through our daily to-do list, most of us lose track of what we wanted, what we dream of, or what we're even capable of. My name is Kat Fry, and I have built my business on helping others see what they're capable of, put their vision for their teams into action, and to work through the stuck that they have found themselves in. Teams that have great potential but don't know how to work together to be amazing since they haven't quite gotten their special sauce right. We talk tough, real, tactical, health, wellness, and even a little fun. I learned business in the trenches, and this isn't business from a book. This is what's worked for me, what hasn't worked, and might kickstart a new thought for you, a little perspective change. It might even inspire you. Get ready to think straight, dream big, get out of your box, and take a deep breath. This is the Oxygen Podcast. Hey everybody. All right, so we're going to talk about some conflict resolution today. It's one of the things that we've got training coming out on, so I thought I'd drop a quick introduction video, and then if you are facing some of these challenges, then you can hop on our website and we'll get you going and hopefully help with some of your team challenges. So the question we're going to start with was, does your team conflict? And most of the time, the answer to that is yes. Everybody's team has challenges and everybody's team conflicts. The real question is, does your team conflict well? So let's start with this. I'm going to give you some questions to ask yourself, and then we'll go from there. So when your team starts to conflict, and this can be any part of your team, it can be your executive staff, it can be your sales team, it can be anybody that has a collaboration going internally. Even if you are an entrepreneur and you have contractors that you bring in, the question is, do the people that are under your leadership conflict well when you bring them in for a mastermind or any kind of meeting with collaboration? Does change come from the conflict? So, do you actually see a result when your team starts to conflict? Can your staff freely share without fear of retribution from their peers or their management? And this is a really important one. For a leader to be able to stand back in a room and really read the body language of the people in the room. Do you see that people are holding back, or do you hear kind of in the scuttle after a meeting? Do you even know your staff well enough to know when someone is holding back, or afterwards that someone says to you, hey, I really wasn't comfortable sharing, but here's my thought, and how do you handle that moment? And how long does a conflict go without action taken? And this is a really big one for me. I've sat through my share of meetings where a result isn't taken, and the famous words of, well, let's table it until the next meeting come out. And that is just cringeworthy, especially for busy people, or if it's a big item. How often do you hear that, or it just goes by the wayside and it never gets addressed? So does change come from the conflict that you see amongst your team? Can your staff go without fear of retribution? And how long does it take once a conflict starts until you see final action actually being taken? So at Oxygen, we work with a ton of companies that are starving for process. They are starving for new processes. Maybe some of the processes that they've had in the past have gone stagnant or stale, or they're not getting what they were hoping for out of them. Another one that we hear of is data. They want more data. They don't feel like they have enough information to make good decisions out of for their business or where to go next. They kind of have that stuck feeling. And they feel like if they had a new process, or if they had new data, or they had accurate data, that's another big one that we hear, that they'd be able to get out of this kind of unknown feeling that they have, and they'd be able to make a change. But we've all heard this kind of garbage in, garbage out, okay? So when we work with companies that come to us and say, well, we want process. We need to figure out where we're at. We just don't know. I always like to stop and ask where they're getting their current information. And I think that if we stop and we look, for those of us who actually run a P&L, we know that our largest line item on our P&L is our people. From just their salary to their benefits to all of the actual functions of running a business, our people are our biggest cost. And if they're not our actual biggest cost, they're pretty darn close. So they are the asset that we need to get the most out of. With that being said, are we actually using them to their greatest advantage? And I think that if we aren't looking at them for that resource, for that information, and we aren't allowing them to have an opportunity to conflict, it doesn't matter what kind of processes or what kind of data we're looking for. They have the information we need before we start a new process, before we extract any more data. They are the resource that we have to tap into. So if we put all those people in a room, okay, so let's just kind of picture what we're talking about here a little bit. If we put all this biggest asset that we have, if we put them all in a collaboration or a think tank environment, and as leaders, we take on a facilitator role and we try to extract this type of information from them. Yet they're uncomfortable conflicting together, or they're uncomfortable sharing some kind of information that they have about our businesses. It's not that they're not giving us what we want. They can always provide baseline information. So it's not like they're not doing what we're asking them to do. However, these people are smart. If we've hired them, most of the time, especially in a small, medium, even a larger company, we have empowered our managers, we have powered even our direct reports to hire smart people. We have vetted, we have background checked, we have checked references. We know that we have smart people that work for us. However, we're only allowing them to work to a certain potential. So if we don't put them in a think tank or a collaboration type of environment and extract more than just the minimal data from them, the part that a computer can spit out, and we don't create a conflicting environment where there is no fear of retribution, there is no fear of self-doubt or anything like that, then the information that you get back is frontline information. It's actually the information that some of these companies out there that are designed to assess your actual data, that are designed to implement processes and make you lean and give you as much process and analytics as you can possibly do. That's the information, that's the no garbage in. That's the good information in, great processes out. So I think that if you are considering looking at your business at this point, we're approaching almost the end of the first quarter. And some of us have, we can start to see our numbers. We know how things are going. Maybe we're a little frustrated. Maybe our teams are a little frustrated. Numbers are maybe not looking what they are. Or maybe you're looking at your numbers and thinking, man, we're about to blow our numbers out of the water. Maybe we have team members who have come to us and said, we want more. We think that we can do more. Whatever that looks like. And you're figuring out a way to stretch them out and be a leader. And take on more than what you thought you were even going to be capable of, which is amazing. And we will pat you on the back the entire way. There is so much value in teaching people to conflict. Leading a team sounds easy for anyone who's never done it. And you can very easily have a collection of individuals. However, A team has its own identity. It has its own pulse. And if you want it to produce in its own level, then it has to have the ability to conflict. So with all that being said, I have 3 questions for you. I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions, pass it on to maybe some of your upper level managers and see how they feel about it as well. I will say that if you run a larger team, have this set of questions ready for each team itself. Each team should be able to conflict on its own. Each team should have its own priority in the order in which it conflicts. So for each team that you have, ask yourself these 3 questions. Do conflicts last too long without a resolution? Do members of your team not share ideas for fear of retribution or self-preservation? And does your team conflict well? And these are yes or no. And if the answer is no to any of your questions, jump on our website, OxygenEq. You can also .com. It's still under construction. Nothing happens on timelines that we like or that I like. You can find us on Facebook. It's Breathe Oxygen In on Facebook. You can schedule an appointment with one of our coaches to come in and do a team assessment on either one of those locations. And we can come in and talk to you about it. Continue to watch our training videos. Those are always free. But I hope that you take some time next time you're sitting in a team meeting, and as a leader and a facilitator, if you're not sure, watch your team from a different perspective over the next couple of meetings that you have and see. Poke the bear a little bit and watch for those that maybe hold back a little bit, and watch for those that maybe roll over other people, not willing to let somebody voice their opinion. And then go back to those 3 questions and see how your team does. So hope everybody takes just another minute to take a deep breath today, and we'll see everybody on the next video. Bye, everybody.